detector before, haven't you? No response. Well, we've got a green audience now. All right. Tonight's production is being given by the Lakewood Historical Society, and it is going to tell you how live theater came to Lakewood. Well, you didn't dress. Oh, that's right. That's why we're here, is to tell you how it used to be. Well, all right. We'll just get started. Now, you're going to have to learn a little theatrical language. This is called a prop. This is called a costume. And this is a cocktail hat. Now, cocktail hats were wonderful. They didn't have big brims. They didn't have tall feathers. In fact, I have two kinds of cocktail hats. This one is a little more garish, but, you know, with the right outfit, it was lovely. And let me tell you, they have dual purpose. You could wear your cocktail hat on Saturday night, come home, put it on the dresser, and go to bed not feeling too good. Get up the next morning, get ready for church. In a lot of churches, you had to cover your head. Pick up the cocktail hat, put it on, and away you went. You had your hat on. Okay, so that's the way it was back then. Now, I have one more thought I do have to tell you about. Do I have all my jewelry on? Okay. This is a clown. Isn't he wonderful? He's so bedraggled and so old. But in the 9th grade, I had the leading part in an operetta. And I was scared to death. And I had this little clown. I don't even remember where it came from. But we always had chicken on Sunday. And so I got the wishbone. And this is the original wishbone, when I was in the 9th grade, of the good part of the chicken wishbone. And it goes with me whenever I was on stage. And I dug him out of an old cedar chest tonight. He was so happy to get out. I'm not too sure I'd have to be here, but anyway, bear with us. This is the cast. Now, we've not had any rehearsals. We each have our own playbook. As you see, they're all a little different sizes. Lord help us if a fan goes on. But I tell you one thing we do have. We have lots of information and lots of experience. So, as in any production, we have to set the stage. Now, you all came from various parts of Lakewood tonight. And Lakewood's history doesn't physically show. We weren't meant to be a big city. We weren't meant to be a seaport. We were just an area that had lakes and trees and prairie. But things were happening here as early as 1860. And as most of you know, the country club started in 1894. And it's the oldest country club west of the Mississippi. But it was a trip to come from Tacoma. So there weren't a lot of people here. Tonight you came through traffic and you came through road construction and you came through traffic lights and that ungodly video sign as you enter Lakewood. And all the confusion of getting to this building because of the building there in the parking and all the new mall. So you have to go back, close your eyes, and think of this as a very sparsely populated community. There was a newly developed shopping center, which was the first commercial things that came to Lakewood. They weren't selling things here before that, per se. There was the Visitation Girls' School, and of course the church, the little church on the prairie. And Bradley Lake Drive was a 2-lane road. It had houses and trees and a few empty lots. The community, and I'm calling it the community, was just as important to the Summer Lakes residents as the full-time residents. Now, I've heard it said that if you name drop, you're climbing the social ladder. Well, I tell you, I'm too old to be on a ladder and certainly too old to be climbing. But I am going to drop names. stool and have coffee with Norton Clapp, just like anyone else. Talk about the weather, talk about what was going on in the community. It was a community thing. Now there wasn't much to do around here, except go to the movie at Lakewood Theater and get together for lunch. Ladies got together for lunch. And many things happened from those lunches. Hence, the Lakewood Players. In 1938, Mrs. Ray Thompson, and I'm going to call her Lillian because everybody called her Lillian. She was a wonderful woman. She wore her hair kind of in a Gibson girl type, and she had a very cultural background. She and her husband Ray traveled all over the world, and as a young girl, there might even be some others in here that remember going to her house. They had one room, not a chair in it. You went down 2 steps, but the whole room was full of copper. Copper, anything, you name it. And those are the pieces that they had traveled, or had gathered as they traveled. So she had a very warm personality. And oh, as a side note, down at the end of Gravity Lake Drive by the high school was where Ray Thompson built Clover Park Shops. And that was the second commercial building. There were doctor's offices upstairs, the good old drugstore downstairs, grocery store. Later, Helene Stewart had a dress shop. And of course, as you know, it's continuing to grow and move. Well, Lillian and Mrs. Joseph Lancer, a good friend of hers of Tacoma, decided Lakewood needed some culture, and they needed something new to do. I think that was the bottom line. So they got busy and they hired Mrs. Burton James of the Seattle Repertory Theater, and they hired her to teach a course in theater art. Well, she accepted. Now they had to get busy and find 30 people to take the class. So they did, and she came once a week in the summer, starting in June, to teach this class. Well, now, the 30 people, what were they going to do with all this newfound information? Aha! They were going to start the Lakewood Players. Now, this involved people from Tacoma, as well as Lakewood, and Mr. Ed Cartosian, from Cartosian Carpets Downtown, was the first president. And the first play was Boy Meets Girl. It was directed by Craig Boardman, for those of you who know the directors back then. And Harry Kane had the leading male part. Now, folks, this was the social event of the year. It was not only for Lakewood, but it was for Tacoma also. I have a wonderful scrapbook that I think either his wife or his daughter put together for Ed Cartosian and gave to him for Father's Day in 1955. Has wonderful articles in it and some pictures that we can't recognize. Now this production was held at the Lakewood Theater. For those of you that have read any of the other histories and think it was at the Lakewood Recreation Center, the first 2 years they were held at the Lakewood Theater. Now, again, this was such a new toy that parties were given and picnics were given and teas were given, all for the cast. Prior to the production of the play, they'd have rehearsal on Saturday morning and they'd get all these people to come and have a picnic. Well, the newspapers had a ball. We have pages of news articles. Of course, there was the Lakewood Log and the Tacoma Times and the Tacoma Ledger. Filled their social pages for practically the whole summer. Now, then the night of the production came, and that really was a biggie. They had cocktail parties, they had dinners, everybody who was anybody and those that weren't anybody either participated or were invited. I mean, we have Mrs. Quibley. Si, maybe you went to one of those. We have the Cartosians and the Clapps and the Murrays and the Warehousers, Lee and Margaret Merrill, the McHenrys, the Hebbs. I mean, it didn't matter who your name was or what it was. You were in the paper is giving one of these parties, and all the invitees were listed also. Again, social pages were just filled to the gills. Now, oh, by the way, that's where they started dressing for the theater. Just had to tell you how that got started. Now, I'm going to give you some trivia about the first play. The first play, as I told you, was, what was it? Didn't I just tell you? Boy Meets Girl. Thank you. Everybody needs a prompter. When you came in, you were given a paper that tells about the Lakewood Players at that time. The date is on it, mail 10/21/38. Now, actually, this mail was the response to the comments. All you have, pardon me, all you have is the letter that was given out, and there was a place for comments. First, I'm going to give you the trivia, and then I'm going to read the comments. The first night, 400 people attended. The second night, 300 attended. The tickets were 75 cents. And this just cracks me up. At intermission, did you have coffee and cookies? Heavens no. You went from the theater to the Lakewood Terrace dining room, and you were served coffee and cigarettes. The players were listed as a cultural asset. So now, in response to the first play on the comments, here's one. First show, excellent, but prices too high for the general public, not interested personally in the players themselves. 75 cents. Makeup too heavy for first 7 rows. I got my eyebrows a little dark, but other than that, I tried. We enjoy the light, sophisticated comedies, not the morbid, heavy plays, too difficult for amateur production. Okay? Here's one. Eliminate the unnecessary, obnoxious, profane language, as it ruined an otherwise exceedingly good play, well acted. Now, you see, Ed Cartosian, as president, had to answer these. So his answer, the copy of our letter, it says, as for the profanity, please understand that when we produce a play, we deem to present it in the most professional manner, and all language was written in by the author. And for this reason, we gave it as we did. That was a nice answer, I think. I wonder if they ever came back. Now, this one's a little bit longer, but worthy of reading. Lakewood Players. I attended the August 11 performance of Boy Meets Girl and thoroughly enjoyed it. My criticism of the presentation is merely my own observation and opinion, and follow herewith. The entire cast seemed to be aware of the fact that they were acting. This was least noticeable in the character Susie. In the hospital scene, the intoxicated writer forgot he was intoxicated.